Well, hello, my friends. It's Shawn Petite, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you're here. Look at this. I have been waiting to create this for so long. Here are the supplies that we'll be using today. Very simple products in today's project. I'm starting out on an 8x10 MDF board, and it has been gessoed, and now I am putting down Americana acrylic paint in the color Fawn. I chose this color because I knew that I wanted this to kind of be an outline and to peek through, and I wanted it to be somewhat neutral, and so I chose this color for that reason. So I've got my new large church stencil. There are 3 new ones in the shop, and I'm using a Stabilo All pencil and kind of getting my outline, and I use the Stabilo so that if paint hit it or anything like that, it would kind of get watered down a little bit and add to the grungy goodness of everything. So I'm using gesso, and this is Liquitex gesso because it's a little bit heavier body than my Nova Color gesso. And I'm using my palette knife, and I'm just getting some grungy goodness down and just kind of filling in that space. There's lots of layers to come. So I have some just regular black, and I'm adding gesso to it to create variations of grays and blacks. Because one of the hardest things about creating with a neutral palette is making sure that you've got enough contrast and interest so that everything doesn't look the same. So adding gesso or a white to all of the values that you have will help you get varying colors and help with your interest and your contrast. So I'm using, besides the black, I'm using Americana paints. So I've got some really great colors, Thicket and kind of a peach color, and all of the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog will be down below in the YouTube description box. So everything will be there. And so I'm wanting to make sure that I have a tiny bit of color in there that's going to separate the earth from the sky. And so I've got that thicket in the bottom down there, and just bits of it are going to show through. Oh, I did use one other color. It's a Liquitex heavy body, and it's called Parchment. And it's kind of a yellowy white, and it's perfect for one more shade of light color, neutral color. So now I've got the thicket up above as well, but I have added gesso to it, so it changes the tone of it. Plus I'm also adding some cactus. I think it's called cactus. Again, all the supplies will be listed. And it's sage. While it seems like it would be green, it has a blue tint to it, so I thought it would be perfect. It was nice and light, and so I thought it would be perfect for up above for sky. And so again, I'm just taking the colors that you saw that we started with, I'm using those colors and adding some of my gesso and some of that parchment and some of the sand gray to each one, and getting varying colors to really create interest. So now here's the key that kind of pulls the background together. I've got a very, very dry brush. I really dried it out well, and I'm taking my color, my either parchment or my gesso, and doing a dry brush over it, so it kind of tones everything down and kind of pulls it together and really makes it cohesive. And then I can come back over it like I am right now with just a tad bit of gesso and add to areas that maybe I might need to. But I'll do this back and forth and kind of layer back and forth. But the really wonderful thing about dry brushing is that it reveals the texture of the palette knife work that we've just done. It's so gorgeous. I just love it. So again, I'm going back and forth between some gesso, and I'll add some gesso to maybe some parchment color or to some kind of peachy color. just to have a little bit of variation. But again, dry brush, and it really tones everything down, softens it, and really blends everything together. I'm using kind of a rougher bristle brush too, to get that really kind of brushy feel as well. But I'll do this a couple of times, and now I'm going to come back in with a little bit heavier hand, with a little bit more paint on my brush to kind of start accentuating certain areas or pushing certain areas back that maybe I'm not really fond of. But adding just a little bit more paint to my brush and being a little bit bolder, and kind of hiding some of the areas that maybe I want to hide. But you can see now that kind of tan that's outlining the church. I really wanted to make sure that I had that happening, and have it be kind of that neutral, warm feeling. But what's really great is as I'm dry brushing, you can still see that kind of bluish hue coming through up above, and still some of that green down below. And it's so beautiful. I'm doing the same thing here on the body of the church. And then I got really bold and got some raw umber, and I really didn't like it. I was like, because one of the things is that I really want that church to be the focal point. It has to stand out, so it has to be nice and bright and very different from the backgrounds. And so I came back over it with my palette knife, and everything happens for a reason. And so that little bit of umber underneath there was beautiful and perfect. After I got a little bit of gesso over the top, it was yummy, grungy good. So now I'm going to come back in and use my palette knife on just a couple portions here with just regular acrylic paint. And it was very difficult to do this because there's no real body to the paint. But I wanted it to be that way because I knew it would be uneven and messy and unpredictable, and that's what I was going for. I wanted it to be super rustic. And so it was difficult to kind of get my paint in there without it going everywhere, but it ended up working out. So now I'm just going to come back in with that same black paint and put in my lines that are going around the church that give me some definition, and look at, oh, that just makes me happy. So I'm going to come back in now with my palette knife and do my edges and kind of fill in the lines, kind of fill in any gaps. And one of the best things that you can do when you're working with your palette knife is let go of perfection, because it is never perfect. It is uneven lines. And that's the reason I love it, because I could never plan to have things turn out the way that they did had I not used a palette knife, because you just really sometimes never know what you're going to get. So now I'm coming back in with some raw umber and some gray and some black and just really kind of defining my areas, defining the piece, putting in the details and adding the drama and the definition. I am just super happy about how this turned out. It was not difficult at all. Love the layering process, and I plan on doing a whole series of churches, and I cannot wait. Adding just some highlights and different things like that, just tiny touches to add to the grungy goodness. And I will be putting paper down. I always have some kind of paper, something in my projects, and here it is. So I printed out my words for this piece on some tissue paper, and I'm putting that down with some fluid, Liquitex fluid matte medium. And these words are the inspiration for the piece. So I hope you stick around for the conversation at the end, and I'll explain my inspiration and what drew me to this. And I've just been waiting so long to create it, and I just can't wait to share the story with you. Again, all the supplies will be listed on the blog, and that's about it. I'm using some soft pastels now to add those final touches. I will shade around the edge, and that is about it, my friends. I hope you enjoyed today's project, and if you did, subscribe and like and share and all those wonderful things. And check out all the new stencils in the shop. They're just awesome. I'm just having so much fun this week. We had all kinds of fun creating all kinds of projects. All right, my loves, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Sunday. Well, hello, my loves, and happy Sunday to you. This is just exactly what I wanted. Makes me so happy. This is the new church stencil. There's 3 church stencils, 2 large and a smaller one of the 2 larger ones. But this is part of the new winter stencil launch, and they're all available to you. And I did videos over the last few days of lots of different projects and lots of fun things. So I hope you caught those, and if you didn't, I'll leave a link to those down below. But I always design the stencils for what I really like creating and what I will create with. And hopefully I give you kind of a new perspective on how to use them and that kind of thing. But so check out all the new stencils and see what you think. So for this piece, when I was designing it, I knew how I was visualizing how I would use it, and I wanted it to be this really simple, serene, rustic kind of feel. And I have this mantra that I write down often throughout my journals, and I put that up at the top because that's kind of what I was thinking about when I designed this stencil. And it says, searching for hope, searching for peace, and searching for calm in the everyday things. And that has been my mantra for probably 9 months now, since all the things have been happening. And it's always I think something that I kind of always have with me, not just especially in the 9 months that we've had Crazy Town. But I'm just always searching for that peace and that hope and that calm, because I am naturally fearful and full of anxiety kind of person. And so that is something that I work on all the time. And so that's what I was thinking about when I designed this stencil. And as I started to put it together, I printed that out, and I really kind of had that rolling around in my head. And we all find our peace and our calm and our hope in different things. You might find it in wilderness, or in hiking, or in camping, or fishing, or that's my husband, or creating. or whatever it might be for you. That's kind of what this represents, finding your hope and your peace and your calm. And when we do that, when we kind of search for that and we let that fill us up, it really allows us to engage more. It allows me, I'll speak for myself, it allows me to engage more. It allows me to care for people more genuinely, with more empathy, when I have that peace and that calm. And it's not an all the time thing. And it's a daily kind of thing that I have to search for, to kind of calm my anxiety and different things. And I have learned tools and things like that that have helped me do that. But I want to ask you where you find your calm and your peace. And for me, creating is obviously one of the things that I find my calm and my peace in, but it's also in my faith. And I just want to encourage you today to find whatever that thing is that helps you have that peace, to have that calm. Even when things are great and going well and all is good, I know I still need to find that kind of quiet calm, to kind of recenter myself and to be able to give and care for others and love on others. I need to have that calm. And that peace and that calm helps us see ourselves, helps us see the areas that we need to work on, helps us see the areas that we're great at. It helps us reflect and forgive. And that peace and that calm, even when things aren't chaotic, are so, so important to growing and learning, moving forward, searching for our dreams, all those kinds of things. And too often we are so busy with all the things and our lifestyles. We have our phones with us all the time, and we are very rarely quiet. Quiet to hear our own stirrings, to hear our own cry for help, to hear our own worries. And when we get quiet and we find that calm and that peace, we have the ability to address those things, and when we do, we grow. So I want to encourage you to find your peace and find your calm in the everyday, and wherever that is, whether it be all the things that I said, or your faith, or your whatever it is. Find it for you. Find it so that you can care for you and take care of you, so that you have more to give to others, and that you can grow and learn in that process. And that is it, my friends. I hope your Sunday is wonderful. I hope it's peaceful. I hope you have that quiet time to reflect and listen to yourself. And I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.